Well, I suppose the main inspiration for this piece comes from my work as a childbirth educator. Oxytocin is really, really important for birth and for parenting. And the more you read about oxytocin, the more I researched oxytocin, the more I realised what a fantastic hormone it is for all sorts of things. It's so important for our basic health, our emotions, our physical and emotional state. Yeah, all of that. When you get obsessed with something, you go on about it quite a lot. And at home, I go on and on about oxytocin this, oxytocin that. And I've been banned from talking about oxytocin at home. So I had to get it out of my system. So that's why I wrote this play. I already knew quite a bit about the role of oxytocin with birth, breastfeeding, early parenting, things like that. And there are quite a few books written about oxytocin, some of them more scientific than others. So I just started with some of the more lay books, and then as I got more and more into it, did more reading on the internet, and yeah. I wanted it to be a piece which was very minimal and very portable, and I didn't really want there to be particular characters in it. I wanted oxytocin to be the character, so I wanted the whole team to represent that one character, as it were. Actually, though, as we've been rehearsing and performing, some little bits of character development have come out, which just gives the play a little bit of spice. But I think, it's the fact that it's oxytocin is the star. It's not any, so it's for the anonymity of the actors, I think.
It is a very interesting script. The balance between the different letters. We all have our own little scene. We all are on stage all the time. It's a very interesting project. Energetic, short, very simple, just the 3 boxes, just the t-shirts, no big set and all this stuff. Also, it was published from the beginning that we will perform in different places, which is very interesting. You almost take a tour. Every venue is a bit different. The entrance is different. The light is different. That was very fascinating. It is more like an animated TED Talk in a way. And we do all the time the pantomimes, and then we do classics like Shakespeare or something, and then also self-written scripts, but that was something very new. And that was what I liked about it. Also, it's short and condensed. It's not so long, which is always nasty if you have to rehearse more and more and more stage time. If you have more time for less stage time, you can work on it more intense. That's what I like. I have to say this group is wonderful because the 4 people, the 8 people, we have 4 men and 4 women. It's really different characters, but it works very well. The energy is very good. Also, we are all different, which gives, I think, the piece a lot of color. Well, we are all black and white, but it gives it a lot of color in the animation. I think it's a really important message the play gives, because the complexity, how the hormones, oxytocin and its friends, how we call it in the play, work together. This is rather fascinating. I mean, I know I've heard about oxytocin before. I have some children and you hear about it, especially when you're pregnant, but it was really very interesting how the biochemistry works. That was fascinating for me.
I think it would be very good for the whole world that the general population is aware of oxytocin and the importance of its role in our daily lives. But in fact, we give people a kind of talk on how they can produce it, and it's because it has such beneficial effects. Yeah, so I think that people will go away a little wiser about how they might increase their daily experience.
When I come to my part of the performance, it's to talk about connection, which is a C word, although I do get a little bit distracted by a lot of questions from the rest of the cast and end up talking about consumerism and capitalism a little bit, unfortunately, although they are both C words, so semi within the correct realm. Wendy she has a vision, so she knew what she wanted. She had fairly clear ideas, and then Bats being what Bats is, everyone on the stage also had very good directorial ideas. So it was really up for Wendy to decide how much of her vision to keep and how much of our craziness to sort of take bits and pieces of, I think, and put it together. It's a really interesting show. I think just the way that it's truly an ensemble piece. Like we've done sort of semi-ensemble pieces before, but this one absolutely full on ensemble piece. Nobody's off the stage ever. If they remember one fact about oxytocin, that probably will be enough. If they don't, I hope that they've listened to some music that they either remember or that they've never heard and that they really enjoy. I hope that they laugh and that produces, endorphins and they take them home. Any of that is fine. You just want people to have a good time, I think, when they come and see you on stage.
I am representing nourishment, but also talk a lot about health and how food has an effect on our hormones. Yeah, this is my first play actually in bats. I have been involved just doing production manager before. But yeah, this was my first play, and it felt a little bit. Well, this was a little bit smaller, and it was exciting to see this concept where we're going from bar to bar. And what I understood was making this harder is that we don't have props and moves in the same way that another play would have. So I guess that was challenging, but I'm looking forward to trying other plays now and see how that compares. Oh, well, I just really like the group and what they're doing and how they're approaching it, and all the people in here are awesome. So I'm looking for, I like doing a lot of different kinds of things. I'm a tech nerd as well, and so I'll just figure out how I can contribute to the group. I feel like I've learned a lot about hormones and oxytocin through this play, and I really hope that it just inspires other people to learn more about it as well. I do think that this play could actually help a lot of people understanding themselves better. There's a lot of people that are maybe often living unhealthy lifestyles, and this could be one of the ways to help improve that.
I am portraying the letter T. I speak about touch and trust, very important aspects of how to release the hormone. It seemed interesting. I like facts, so a play that was focused around facts seemed very interesting. And I think hormones are also very interesting, and I've learned so much. It's as we say in Norwegian, I am yrkesskadet. Every time I speak to people and they talk about something that has to do with the play, I keep going, "Oh, did you know?" And I keep spewing the facts that I've learned throughout the play, which is really fun. If they don't necessarily pick up the specific facts, I hope that they pick up maybe just a feeling of what is important, what you should maybe be focusing on more. Being more physical, or being, more trusting, or being more open towards people, and not having, the effects that capitalism and all these other things have on our daily lives.
Let's meet oxytocin.
Oxytonic, oh yeah, oxytonic, ooh, oxytonic, that's what we Come on! Sorry, just 1 minute, please.
You're doing this
Oxytocin, oh yeah!
Oxytocin, ooh,
Oxytocin!
that's what we need.
If you want life to be sweet, then this hormone's time to beat. Oh yeah, oxytocin's what we need.
Roll up and find out all you need to know about the incredible oxytocin.
And a bunch of other stuff you don't really need to know, but it's really interesting.
Where shall we start? Let's start at the very beginning.
A very good place to start.
What is oxytocin? Well, oxytocin is a chemical, both a hormone and a neurotransmitter.
I'm sorry, what?
It's a chemical messenger sending signals to affect both our bodily functions and our emotions.
Oh, okay, I see. Ah! One more push! You can do it!
start at the very beginning.
A very good place to start.
Congratulations!
First identified in 1906 by one Henry Dale as the hormone which causes contractions during birth and named from the Greek for swift birth, oxytocin is also responsible for the release of milk during breastfeeding. Both mother and baby experience huge surges of oxytocin, which make them feel good and help them to bond. Usually. So although birth gives the first big nudge to our oxytocic systems, oxytocin is a real multitasker and involved in so much more than just birth and breastfeeding. Oxytocin helps us feel good.
Stay healthy. Be motivated.
Productive.
Trusting. And loyal.
Oxytocin reduces
Stress. Blood pressure.
pain.
Inflammation. Anxiety.
And depression. Oxytocin promotes
Healing?
Closeness.
Understanding.
Satisfaction.
Interaction. And love.
Whoa, no pressure to the molecule. It's been given many monikers.
The hormone of health. The social hormone.
The trust hormone.
Cuddle hormone.
The holiday hormone.
And the hormone of love.
Let's find out more.
X is for sex.
I need that now.
But it's my baby.
It's not a baby, it's a cousin.
Oxytocin. It doesn't just help get babies born, it helps make them as well.
Let's talk about sex, baby.
It surges during intercourse, especially orgasm, and it helps with penile function and sperm mobility.
Ew, TMI, man.
Hey, oh, hello. Hey. Oh, my God. Oh, yeah. Oh, hey.
All done?
I think so.
Oxytocin is part of the body's reward system, a collection of feel-good neurochemicals. Dopamine is a motivator. You achieve a goal, you feel good about it. And that feeling encourages you to aim for the next challenge. You know, it's true what they say, that breaking down an overwhelming task into smaller, more achievable tasks really works, because lots of tasks achieved means more dopamine hits. Serotonin, that flows when you feel significant and important. Yes, without it you can feel lonely and depressed. Some ways of getting serotonin are a bit desperate and dangerous. It's why, for example, people join gangs. They feel important, they feel they belong. But there are healthier ways of getting your serotonin fix. Think of all the people to whom you are important. Remember your past achievements. Value yourself. Oh, get outside. Sunlight really encourages a good flow of serotonin as well.
So, there we are then. Oh, hang on, I'm forgetting somebody.
Endorphins. They're produced in response to stress and pain, and they help to alleviate anxiety and depression.
What did the brain do when it saw a friend across the street? Gave a brainwave. What kind of fish performs brain surgery?
We don't know.
A brain sturgeon, of course.
Laughter. That really encourages a good flow of endorphins.
Why didn't the brain want to take a bath? It didn't want to get brainwashed.
You're not stimulating too much endorphin release for me.
Ow! You little boy.
Chalky, anyone?
Oh, dark chocolate and spicy food, they can also give you a good boost of endorphins.
What about me? You haven't told them about me.
Oxytocin is what this play is all about, silly. Come on.
Yes, so there we have it. We have dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. D-O-S-E, making dose. D-O-S-E, making a dose, a reward loop system. Thank you. Now, sex, for example, that gives you a good dose of dose. It makes you feel great, which makes you want to stay close to the person you just had sex with, which encourages fidelity, which makes for stable pairs, which makes raising children safely more easy, which facilitates reproduction, which is what nature is most geared towards. Okay, yes, you can stop that now. Thank you.
Reproduction, oh yeah, reproduction, woo-hoo, reproduction. production! That's what we want. It's nature's driving force, and it's lots of fun, of course. Oh yeah, reproduction's what we want.
But it's not just sexual love that depends on oxytocin. You know, there are different sorts of
This
love.
crazy little thing called love.
Of course, in English, we only have one word to describe them all, love, but the ancient Greeks had different words for all the different sorts of...
That crazy little thing called love.
You can't see it with your eyes, hold it in your hand. For like the wind that covers our land, strong enough to move the heart of any man.
This thing called love.
It can lift you up, never let you down. Take your world and turn it all around. Ever since time, nothing's ever been found that's stronger than love.
So there's philia, which is affectionate but not sexual. This is brotherly love. We feel this for family and friends. You can get a real surge of joy when you're with them, a bit like what the Irish called crack. Oh. And that's oxytocin. Then there's storge, which is the natural, effortless love that a parent feels for their child, and a child for their parents. Oh, very oxytocic. Then we have eros, which is the romantic, passionate, physical love that the pop songs go on about. This is mostly driven by dopamine and serotonin. And then we have pragma, which is enduring love. Solid, steady, long-lasting. We tend to think of this kind of love as only experienced by old couples who have been together for a long time, but actually eros will turn into pragma about 3 years into a relationship. Couples may feel that the thrill has gone without realizing that this change is completely natural and normal. And in fact, pragma is extremely oxytocic, so it's the healthiest form of love, or one of the healthiest forms of love. Yes, it might, of course. Oh, hang on. What? Yeah, we're missing one now. Oh, yes. There we go. Ludus. Yes, that's playful, non-committed sort of love. It's just lust, really, and it's driven by testosterone and estrogen rather than by oxytocin. But it might turn into philia or eros, which can become pragma. Remember, this is about 3 years in, but usually it just fizzles out. So, what else? Yes, mania. Mania, this is obsessive, jealous love. It stems from a lack of self-esteem. You know, we actually need healthy self-esteem in order to be self-sufficient in oxytocin production. We need philautia, which is self-love. Not narcissism, but compassion for oneself. Now, this is really important if you think about it, because it's difficult to love another person if you don't love yourself first.
Does that mean?
Yes, that's right. Masturbation. Masturbation, or a ménage à moi, is actually a good stimulant for oxytocin production, and as we shall soon see, that since oxytocin is essential for good physical and mental well-being, actually masturbation is an extremely healthy activity. As Woody Allen said, don't knock masturbation, it's sex with someone you love.
Right. I was thinking more about shopping.
Treat yourself.
So, there are many different sorts of love.
Love is many splendid things.
Oh, and there's one more, which is agape. This is the love behind selfless and charitable actions. Things that the poet William Wordsworth called
little, nameless, unremembered acts of kindness and of love.
Yes, agape is the kind of love that motivates a religious feeling or attachment to nature.
My heart leaps up when I behold a rainbow in the sky.
Yeah, or more likely, my heart leaps up when I recycle. Agape can motivate us to reduce our carbon footprint and take care of the planet.
What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of.
Wait.
What the world?
Wait! What? Don't we actually already know all this already? Love makes the world go round. Love is the answer. All you need is love. Blah, blah, blah. Why are we wasting our time and theirs banging on about it?
Yeah.
What's up?
I mean, this is
Come on.
I'm going over the good film in our hardcore too.
No, wait. Watching an emotional film can be very oxytocin.
Oh, give it a rest.
Oh, no, come on. Yes, all right. You're right, of course. Doing good does make us feel good, but we're here to emphasize that feeling good can in turn make us do good. It's what's called the oxytocin system feedback loop. When we make oxytocin, we not only increase our capacity for making it, but also our response to it. Yes, oxytocin can strengthen our empathy and compassion, which has got to be good for society, right?
So what you're saying is, loving and being loved makes us more loving.
That's right.
All right, man.
peace, love, and understanding. Come on, as if we haven't flipping heard all that before. Come on, I'm off.
No, wait. Yes, of course, you're right, but you don't have to be some kind of new age hippie to take all this stuff on board. There's a solid scientific basis for it.
Yeah.
No, that's what's so interesting. There's so many surprising things to learn. Oh no, come on, wait. Why not stay? I need you. Come, I know you can do a good job.
Okay.
Cool, man.
Let's do this.
Vodka.
What?
Yeah, all these different sorts of love have oxytocin as their base ingredient. It's a bit like the same way that vodka is the basic ingredient in many cocktails.
Well, gin?
That's more dopamine, I think.
Whiskey?
Serotonin?
We feel it in our fingers. We feel it in our toes. Oxytocin is the hormone. You got to get to know. It's made in the hypothalamus. Part of your brain, you know. But that's just the beginning. You got to let it flow.
Let's do yoga.
Excuse me, what are you doing?
I'm raising my oxytocin.
Oh, all right. What are you doing?
We're raising our oxytocin.
Sweet. No, hang on, wait. I thought we were trying to get away from all of this hippy-dippy nonsense.
We are, but oxytocin is very good for our health, and yoga is an excellent way to stimulate oxytocin.
Why?
Yes?
No, the question why. W-H-Y.
Why what?
Why is oxytocin good for our health?
Oxytocin helps relieve pain, and it has anti-inflammatory properties. So it helps heal wounds.
Ow! Oh, gosh. Oh, you're right. Oh, that's better.
Impressive. Anything else?
Oxytocin helps lower blood pressure, and it stimulates the immune system.
Oh, so I guess that's why TLC, or tender loving care, works, I suppose.
Oxytocin also helps with anxiety and depression, so it helps heal psychological pain too.
Oh, great.
It does a lot more for our health, but we won't go into details just yet.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that. Not that anybody cares.
No, we're really looking forward to that. That's gonna be great. Sure, yes, absolutely.
Positive feedback raises oxytocin.
Okay, so why does yoga raise oxytocin?
Yoga and other sorts of exercise helps lower stress hormones such as cortisol, which are antagonistic to oxytocin.
Ooh. Do you think you can teach me to do the splits?
How flexible are you?
Well, I can't manage Thursdays.
For much of our history, we humans have had to focus on our sympathetic nervous system.
Hang on, sympathy, empathy. Didn't I talk about those things already?
Not sympathetic in that way.
Oh.
Our sympathetic nervous system has to do with action and movement, so it needs a lot of adrenaline. When humans had to do more fighting and hunting, our sympathetic nervous system had to be uppermost. But that priority doesn't really fit with most of our lifestyles now.
So it sounds like what you're saying is we don't really need it and it's taking a back seat to some other system?
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But evolution is a really, really slow process, and our operating system hasn't updated as fast as our lifestyles have changed.
So you're saying we need to consciously relax more?
Yep. We need to focus on our parasympathetic nervous system, which is, you guessed it, oxytocin driven and all about rest and calm.
Oh, right. So actually that sounds like a recommendation for being a slob.
No! Enjoyable activity, especially when done with other people, helps lower stress levels.
Oh, so that's why we all need to do more of this yoga stuff then.
And here's another thing. When our parasympathetic nervous system is uppermost, our bodies are able to take up and store nutrients more efficiently.
So being
This means
Yeah.
that we get more out of our food and we don't feel the need to eat as much.
Oh, so being stressed and having high adrenaline makes us eat more?
Exactly.
Oh, right. So doing more of this yoga is both slimming and stress relieving.
Slimming!
Namaste.
T is for touch and trust.
Are you hungry? Yes? Well, so am I. Lots of people are hungry these days. And I'm not talking about food. I'm talking about touch. Everybody's got a hungry skin. Everybody's got a hungry skin.
Hungry skin?
Yes. Most of us suffer from what the anthropologist Ashley Montague called skin hunger, meaning we don't get nearly enough touch.
My love, my darling, I hunger for your touch. A long, lonely time.
It's a very modern problem.
Say what?
It's a very modern problem. Since so many of us now live alone, especially elderly people. We're just not designed to live singularly or even in very small units. What? What? Oh, yes. The pandemic has made all this worse, of course. We've had to stop hugging. We've had to stop holding hands. We've had to stop touching. This is not natural for humans. The hormones that cause oxytocin to be released reach our brain via our senses. Sight.
Hello.
Sound.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
Smell. Pleasant odors, of course.
Oh.
Taste. But the most effective sense to raise oxytocin levels is touch. Information from our skin, the largest of our sense organs, cannot be influenced by will. It's the first sense to develop in the womb, and it's the last sense to leave us when we die. Touch has a strong and direct effect on the brain, and therefore on our behavior and on our well-being. Touch is a fundamental human need, and reduced touch during the pandemic has led to many adverse side effects. Of course, we've had to protect ourselves and each other, and at least now more people appreciate the importance of touch, which has been consistently undervalued and underestimated. Excuse me, are you paying attention?
I was just sending you a hug gift.
Thank you, but it's a poor replacement for an actual hug.
Hey!
And besides, touch screens can be touch screens.
Come again?
They connect us digitally, but they screen us from actual physical touch. Simple, wordless touch connects us much more effectively.
I wanna hold your hand. I wanna hold your hand.
The now ubiquitous Corona elbow touch was better than nothing, but we had to stop hugging. And hugging is a really important form of touch. It reduces cardiovascular stress and it strengthens the immune system. Paul J. Zach, the neuroeconomist, recommends at least 8 hugs per day.
I wanna hug you now. I wanna hug you now.
So it's like catch-22. Hugging strengthens the immune system, but when there's a virus around and you need a strong immune system, you can't hug.
Exactly. I mean, some forms of non-physical contact can help a bit, but I mean, and even hugging a dog can raise oxytocin.
Oh,
yeah. Both yours and the dog.
But what if you're allergic?
Well, other animals can work too. Cats.
Oh, elephants maybe.
No, probably not goldfish. Dogs are best.
Okay, but what about the people that aren't all touchy-feely? Where does that leave them?
Well, I mean, most of us can be touch defensive at times. We need to try to lower our touch barriers with things like, I know, the cow tipping game. Let's all be lovely warm cows in our fields and try to tip each other over. Moo! Moo!
I feel a bit silly.
Yeah, me too. I like your cow noise.
You do?
It's music to my
What do you call a sleeping cow?
Oh, I don't know.
A bulldozer.
Where did you hear that one?
A moo too.
Never mind 5 portions of food.
Bad today. We actually need 5 portions of fun. And what if we had touch counters instead of step counters to measure we're getting our daily dose of touch vitamins? Of course, touch does require trust. And trust is another really important oxytocin stimulator.
Okay, so if I trust you, that'll raise my oxytocin.
Well, actually, the reverse is true.
If I don't trust you, that'll raise my oxytocin.
If I feel trusted, then my oxytocin level rises. Let's try it now. Trust fall. Okay. Are you ready?
Yep.
Yes. 1, 2, 3.
No.
How do you feel?
Great. Good.
Not good.
Why?
That's me.
Why don't you feel good?
He didn't trust me.
Sorry.
It's better to trust people unless you have a good reason not to. It seems that most people can be trusted to do what's right.
Really?
Yes.
Well, what about the selfish gene? Are we all just looking out for ourselves?
Well, for a long time, neuroeconomists have thought so, but research and actual observed human behavior doesn't support this idea at all.
Oh, that's going to be in my bit.
Oh, and here's the thing about trust. The more trusted we feel, the more we're able to trust.
That's that old feedback thing again.
Oh, feedback loop.
Feedback loop. Oxytocin feedback loop. Feedback loop. Oxytocin feedback loop.
When we feel trusted, just like when we feel loved, we produce oxytocin. And the more oxytocin we produce, the more we're able to produce, and the stronger the effect oxytocin then has on us, mentally and physically.
How does that work exactly?
Well, when we produce oxytocin, we produce receptors for the hormone. In the brain, in the gut, in the heart, and in the uterus. Well, if you have one, of course.
Receptors?
Think of them like electrical sockets. Our hormones kind of plug into them because oxytocin is both a hormone and a neurotransmitter. Oxytocin receptors will proliferate and become more sensitive in high oxytocic circumstances.
Okay, I think I get it. So the more sockets you have, and the better they work, the more light you have.
You light up my life! Exactly. And it's no coincidence that countries where the population is more trusting tend to have healthier populations and healthier economies.
Economies?
Yes, oxytocin is good for business. It helps teams connect and communicate. I'm sorry, who are you?
I am the dark side! There will now be a 15-minute interval, during which time you are welcome to raise your oxytocin and your oxytocin production capacity by being sociable and or consuming alcohol. Thanks for coming out. Good to see you. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Oh, we're outside.
I'm sorry, who did you say you were again?
I am the dark side! Weren't you listening?
Oh, so you mean you represent testosterone or cortisol or adrenaline maybe, which are all antagonistic towards oxytocin.
Actually, no. I am the dark side of Oxytocin!
What? How can that be?
Oxytocin is all about love and feeling good. Oxytocin is a social hormone.
The trust hormone! The hormone! I think what you might need is a hug.
Yeah, we're right behind you.
Yeah, you go.
It's the only thing that is just.
What's wrong? Why are you rejecting me? Is it because I'm different? Is it because I don't agree with everything you say?
Keep away! Keep away! You're not one of us!
Outsider! You see, because it is a kind of social glue that bolsters trust and cooperation within a group, oxytocin can make you correspondingly suspicious of anyone outside of that group.
You don't mean that oxytocin is clicky?
Clicky! Oh, it's much worse than that. Oxytocin can foster intolerance, prejudice, discrimination, even xenophobia and racism. Oxytocin is also a tend and defend hormone, encouraging us to look after our own tribe, as it were.
Well, in that case, I don't think I like oxytocin very much anymore. No, it's not the social hormone we all thought it was, is it?
Let's have nothing to do with it! Yeah. Keep away! Keep away!
Oxytocin is a bit like a national flag. It draws people together, but it can also exclude people.
I vow to thee, my country, all earthly things above, and time and whole and perfect, the service of my love.
You see how oxytocin can be blamed when patriotism rolls over into nationalism? Of course, we all feel safer and more relaxed with what's comfortable. Language, skin color, dress, etc. But the way to get over that is to make the unfamiliar familiar. By way of, for instance, multiculturalism.
Travel!
Yes.
Education!
Right.
being open-minded?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Hey, everybody.
look at me. I was like, where is he? You can do right there.
We need to
Connect. We need to connect with each other, colleagues and family and friends. We need to connect. You know, oxytocin can help us connect.
So, for better, and sometimes for worse, oxytocin fosters human connection. Oxytocin is social cement. The default human setting is openness, trust, empathy, connectiveness. The 18th century Scottish economist Adam Smith said that humans are essentially other-regarding creatures imbued at birth with the capacity for fellow feeling.
Uh-oh. Here we go again.
Imagine all the people living life in peace.
Wait. Adam Smith? Wasn't he the author of The Wealth of Nations, the so-called Bible of capitalism?
It's not by the benevolence of the butcher, the baker, or the brewer that we expect our dinner, but by the regard to their own interest.
Adam Smith is woefully misunderstood. He also wrote the theory of moral sentiment, which talks about humanity's mutual sympathy. He said that good behavior, conscience, these are all inherent parts of our psychological makeup. This is what's known as a bottom-up approach. The good comes from within.
Having a bit of
At
trouble
the
now.
time, the prevailing idea was the top-down one that's embodied by original sin. The belief that, as Plautus said, man is wolf to man, and we must strive to restrain our natural wickedness.
Okay, so if this top-down idea is wrong, what about the Nash equilibrium?
What?
The Nash equilibrium? The idea that we make all of our decisions based on a kind of rational calculator of personal advantage?
Yeah, how does that fit into your mutual sympathy?
Yeah.
So does human history, clothed as it is in blood-soaked raiment.
Oh, that's really good. Thank you.
The war of all
so
against...
does human history really support this idea of benevolence?
Yes, like I was saying, the war of all against all, and that's Thomas Hobbes.
Yeah, it sounds like that people would say you can shove your benevolence up where the sun don't shine.
I hear you, and I understand where you are coming from, but actually, the oxytocin feel-good feedback loop means
Feedback loop. Oxytocin feedback loop.
Thank you. Thank you. The oxytocin feedback loop means that the human golden rule is dog eat dog. No, the human golden rule is do unto others as you would be done by. How on earth, literally, would that make good biological and evolutionary sense? Moral behavior is much more adaptive than ruthless behavior. It inspires connection and cooperation in ways which benefits the entire species. Morality is not just an add-on, it's a basic part of our human design. And the proof of this is the way in which our oxytocin system supports and encourages it. We're actually hardwired to be good.
So why all the wars? The misery.
Man's inhumanity to man. That's Robbie Burns.
Exactly. Inhumanity. It is the opposite of humanity, that's being human, to act in immoral, self-serving, wicked ways. Our humanity can become distorted into inhumanity by circumstances or by culture.
How do you mean?
Take circumstances. FYI, there's an awful lot of important stuff coming up, so you might want to take notes. Take circumstances. If social policy dictates that people lead meaningless, empty, and disconnected lives, then the result of that can be...
Poverty?
Yes.
And not just the normal kind, but oxytocin poverty, which can affect you even if you have millions in the bank.
So, oxytocin poverty can be circumstantial?
Yes, your oxytocin system can be damaged by your past or present circumstances, by trauma and by stress, and it can be temporary.
Having a bad day?
Or acquired.
Having a bad childhood?
Yes. Oxytocin has been shown to crystallize emotional memories, so it works both ways. Good memories of your childhood support you later in life. But the flip side of that is, of course...
Bad memories of childhood can continue to traumatize you?
Unfortunately, yes. And we can blame oxytocin for both, but it's part of its protective function. Ensuring that we don't forget when and where we've had bad experiences helps us avoid having them again.
Yeah, but can ruin your relationships for life. And culture? How does that distort our humanity?
Throughout history, human culture has often suppressed oxytocin on purpose.
What? Why on earth do that?
Because living on Earth has not always been, and for some people still isn't, particularly easy. Being highly oxytocic isn't an especially useful attribute if you have to wrestle with wild animals, defend your territory, or protect your tribe from enemies. We've seen how oxytocin can help with these challenges by binding a group together and encouraging antagonism towards outsiders, but in males especially, a more adrenaline and testosterone-rich state has generally been seen as something useful and therefore desirable.
Sissies are no good in a fight.
Hence the pejorative language.
But how?
Can culture suppress oxytocin on purpose?
Yes.
Great question. By valuing individuality over sociability, by admiring strong and selfish people, and by regarding tactile, empathic, and unselfish behavior as soppy or weak. To give you just one example, when Britain had an empire, what's this now?
Hope and glory, mother of the free, how shall we extol?
To give you just one example, when Britain had an empire, it needed leaders that were tough, uncompromising, and thick-skinned. And that is exactly what a boarding school system produces. If your parents send you away from home at the age of 7, the pain and betrayal of that cauterizes your heart. It toughens you up, but it weakens your oxytocic response. Now, not having much of an oxytocic response is actually pretty helpful for throwing your weight around and subjugating the natives, but it goes completely against natural human inclinations. It's disruptive and destructive and not helpful to humanity going forward. Remember the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system?
That was in my bit!
Yes. In the past, we needed the former, aggression and action. But now, our focus needs to be on the latter, cooperation and calm.
What the world needs now
is for us to focus on our parasympathetic nervous system.
So everyone who went to boarding school is low on oxytocin?
Yes. And no. Painful experience can lower our capacity to produce oxytocin, but it doesn't have to stay low. It is possible to reset and rebuild.
Can it be genetic? Are some people just born with a rubbish oxytocin system?
Yes. It's thought that psychopaths, for example, probably have very low oxytocin production, which can't be improved. But most other people with poor production, for whatever reason, can build a healthier oxytocic response.
That's the whole point of us being here, in case you were wondering.
Interestingly, people who are constant takers, whatever the circumstances, technically known as unconditional non-reciprocators,
or bastards,
and they're rare, but we've all met one. These people have been shown to have an excess of oxytocin.
Shut up!
I kid you not. No. Their system is completely flooded and therefore completely unworkable. You see, oxytocin is naturally released in bursts or surges lasting for a maximum of 3 minutes.
Oh, no such thing as constant happiness then?
Nah, not in the form of the continuous, stable state we all seem to be seeking.
Happiness is fleeting.
So you bastard.
Unconditional non-reciprocator.
Yeah, it's like they've got all of their lights turned on for all of the time.
While someone who's depressed has all their lights turned off.
Well, and to be able to recognize and therefore experience happiness, we need it to come and go.
Just like you can't appreciate the light if it's not dark in between.
That's about it, yeah.
Yin and yang.
Oh, would you stop with all that hippy-dippy crap? We're trying to be scientific.
Question. Does capitalism encourage bastards?
Unconditional non-reciprocators.
Perhaps, since it preaches that pursuing personal gain is a virtue, and that getting ahead is both rational and reasonable and makes the economic wheels turn round for everyone's benefit.
So no then, because it's for everybody's benefit.
And it's fucking up the planet.
Language?
Okay, it's fucked up the planet.
Language!
What we can say is that oxytocin isn't particularly good for capitalism, since economic growth relies heavily on personal dissatisfaction, encouraging us to consume and to keep on consuming. As Wordsworth said,
Getting and spending, we lay waste our powers.
even in 1802, he knew that materialism was a bad idea. He called it a sordid boon.
So if our oxytocin is high, we might be more satisfied with the things we have.
Basically, yes. We can use a practice called metta to help us.
Metta to feel better.
What is that?
It is a form of meditation.
Watch out, hippies overhead.
You sit, and think about someone that you love. You produce oxytocin, and before it fades, you transfer your thoughts to someone that you don't particularly like, and you might start to feel more positive about them.
So how does that help when you want to buy a new pair of shoes?
Hey, I put some new shoes on and everything seems to be right.
Which you don't need.
You think about the shoes, or whatever it is that you believe you need, but you actually just want, and then you transfer your attention to some other shoes or whatever that you already have, and you might start to feel more content with them.
Hey, I put some old shoes on and everything's gonna be right.
Remember dose?
Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins.
Dopamine especially is the reward-seeking chemical, and we often overconsume because we're just chasing dopamine hits. The trouble is, when we've got what we thought we needed, our dopamine levels drop again, and that prompts yet more buying.
So if we've got our dose system going, we might not crave material things so much.
Right. But you know, I'm really supposed to be talking about connection, not capitalism or consumerism. We've run us straight off the point.
Well, talk away then.
Oxytocin makes us feel calm, which facilitates connection. It dampens down fear and anxiety, and that helps us connect with people, with lovers, friends, family, work colleagues. Connecting positively with others makes us feel good about ourselves, and that strengthens our oxytocin response, so that we then find it even easier to connect.
So, sounds like it's that old oxytocin feel-good feedback loop again.
I'm afraid so.
Feedback loop. Oxytocin feedback loop. Feedback loop. Oxytocin feedback loop.
Okay, but what if you're trying to connect with one of those non-what's-the-name people?
You mean the see you next Tuesdays?
You are?
See
You.
Next Tuesday.
All right.
Yeah, what if you're all like oxytocic and like, oh, just connect with me, man, and then he screws you over because oxytocin makes you all trusting and vulnerable, doesn't it?
Yes, but it also makes us better attuned to social cues. Remember how it makes us wary of outsiders? We basically trust, but we verify that our trust is well placed.
Because of the see you next Tuesday.
Well, what about social media? They're all about connecting.
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
TikTok, Snapchat.
Yeah. Are social media oxytocin at all?
Actually, yes.
Yay!
Research shows us that your oxytocin levels have usually risen a bit after being on social media, but only if the connection has been positive.
Oh, not Twitter then.
And as long as this type of connection doesn't become the dominant way of connecting with people in your life.
It's not touchy-feely enough?
No, it's like social snacking.
Click just a little bit, swipe just a little bit, click just a little bit, swipe just a little bit, click.
Which is better than nothing, but
Shouldn't replace a proper meal.
yes. Remember that oxytocin enhances our ability to pick up on social clues, and that is far more reliable face-to-face. When the majority of our interactions become digital, we can start to have an oxytocin deficit, particularly because we might not be experiencing those big surges of the hormone, which really make a difference.
No rapture.
Just small pleasures.
Oxytocin top-ups.
We don't just need FaceTime.
We need whole body time.
Give me all your loving, all your hugs and kisses too. Give me all your loving, don't let up until we're through.
Oh, what's wrong with her?
Is she ill? I hope it's not infectious.
We've been hugging her.
Yeah, 9 hugs a day and your oxytocin will rise, but you might get sick.
Don't panic. It's her inner health that's not so good.
She has a tummy ache?
No, she's feeling anxious, insecure, maybe empty.
And oxytocin can help with that?
Naturally and naturally. Oxytocin reduces stress and anxiety and has been shown to alleviate depression.
Better than pills then.
Of course. In fact, oxytocin is a bit like ecstasy, except it's natural.
Wait, what? Oxytocin can get you high?
Now you're talking, man. Oh, catch that buzz.
Love is a drug I'm thinking of.
Duh, this whole thing has been about the oxytocin rush, hasn't it?
Yeah, but it's only a 3-minute high.
Yes, oxytocin gives you a high, and yes, it's only temporary. But remember the idea of meta? By building our own natural oxytocin, we reduce our cravings for other stimulants.
So it could help with drug addiction.
And alcohol and tobacco dependency and stress eating. Also, the good thing is, our brains are plastic.
Whoa, surely that's a bad thing.
Yeah, far too much plastic around.
Yeah, destroying the planet.
Haven't you seen David Attenborough?
Oh, good grief. No, I'm talking about plastic as the adjective. I'm talking about neural plasticity.
Well, that's all right then.
Wait, what?
Basically, our brains can change.
Can I change mine for a better one?
You can, in a way. If you stimulate oxytocin production, you make your brain more oxytocic so that it makes and reacts to oxytocin more.
I think it's that old oxytocin feedback loop again.
Feedback loop, oxytocin feedback loop, feedback loop, oxytocin feedback loop.
Then you feel less anxious
More secure.
and generally more balanced.
More of the time.
Of course, it's in fact a bit more complex than that.
Of course it is.
Research has shown that naturally produced and artificially administered oxytocin reduces stress. Stress, on the other hand, can in fact increase oxytocin levels.
Hey, that sounds counterintuitive. My plastic brain's melting.
It makes sense that in a situation of stress, our hormonal system tries to help us.
Explain, please.
When we are stressed, adrenaline comes in and keeps oxytocin from plugging into its receptors. We may be under threat, and we need adrenaline center stage to help us react quickly. But although it can't work in a stressed state, a pretty high level of oxytocin is already waiting in the wings to calm everything down afterwards. Adrenaline is very good when needed, but continuously high levels of it are not good for us, physically or emotionally.
So oxytocin and adrenaline are like a double act.
Yes, but they are never on stage together. For example, this is how the adrenaline-oxytocin pair works during birth. Remember that oxytocin drives birth forward?
Yes.
If female animals, including women, get stressed during labor for some reason, fear, insecurity, inhibition, adrenaline comes in, oxytocin withdraws, and the birth will slow until she feels safe again. It's a brilliant protective mechanism and explains why a calm and familiar environment facilitates easier birthing.
My baby!
Hold on. You said something earlier about artificially administered oxytocin.
Yeah, synthetic forms of oxytocin are available.
Wait, what? You can buy oxytocin?
What? So why are we going on about how to increase and produce our own then? Why not just pay for it, eh?
Where do we get it?
Yeah, calm down and listen. Synthetic oxytocin can be injected into the bloodstream, but it will only have a mechanical effect on the body. It is sometimes given to women in labor to mechanically increase the contractions and speed up birth. But it won't help with her bonding or her maternal self-confidence, like natural oxytocin does. The oxytocin has to reach the brain directly to influence our cognitive, emotional, and social behavior.
You have to inject it directly into your brain?
Count me out then.
No. It is administered intranasally and reaches the brain that way. At least it appears to. There is some controversy about it.
Intro whatly?
You spray it up your nose. Yeah, you can get nasal spray on hand.
No advertising!
Yes, and I wouldn't bother. Synthetic oxytocin is prescription only. It is sometimes given to breastfeeding women to help with the milk supply and flow. What you see there on sale is probably just water.
The charlatans! How dare they! It's outrageous!
There. Oxytocin helps with anger management.
There.
And other conditions like anorexia by improving self-esteem and autism spectrum disorders.
Oh, is that because it makes us more warm, trusting, and open?
And because it helps us reading emotions from facial expressions.
Can you tell from my facial expression that you're
Getting on my tits! I'm so glad you trust our relationship enough to be open with me.
Hey, are you feeling anxious again, lovey?
Her OCYTOCIN is pretty low today.
Is IBS?
No, it's actually a tummy ache this time.
Is it?
What's IBS?
Yeah. Intellectual belittling syndrome?
What?
You wouldn't possibly understand.
It's actually irritable bowel syndrome. Well, guess what?
It's my turn now, I think.
Nourishment.
Oxytocin is really, really important for your overall health. It helps to heal wounds. And it helps relieve blood pressure and cardiovascular stress.
You are?
Yeah, it stops you getting a heart attack.
Oh, nice.
Also, it helps strengthens our immune system.
Useful! Oh, especially in times of plague.
Yeah, it relieves headaches, period pains, and menopausal symptoms.
So happy means healthy. Well, that's no surprise.
It's just another hippie moment.
Imagine all the people living.
Shut up! Yes, happy does mean healthy, but we haven't always been known how and why. But knowing the link to oxytocin and other hormones gives us more strength. Or gives us more power.
It's the power of love.
Think of the parasympathetic 3 R's. Rest, relaxation, and repair.
I'm getting repaired.
Oh. Oxytocin also known to help with things like obesity.
Oh, it reduces cravings.
Yes, it strengthens our metabolism. Oxytocin helps with our digestive system. We have a lot of oxytocin receptors in our gut, and oxytocin helps with gut motility.
Got what?
Moving it all through, man. Moving it all through.
And helps decrease intestinal inflammation.
Which nobody wants.
No shit. Wait. Does that mean, well, when we have a gut feeling?
It could be an actual hormonal change, yes. As we know, oxytocin helps reduce stress, and it does this by lowering our cortisol levels. Cortisol has a really strong effect on our digestive system. Either it slows it all down or it speeds it all up.
Ew.
It's designed to. I mean, we don't have time for eating or digesting if we are theoretically under threat.
So if oxytocin lowers our cortisol and keeps our digestive system balanced, then that makes us feel better emotionally?
Of course, there's a huge connection between our brain and our gut. You remember dose?
Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins!
Well, serotonin
stops us being depressed.
Exactly. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter responsible for a feeling of well-being and happiness. And guess what?
What?
It's mostly made in our gut. The cells lining our intestinal walls produce up to 95% of the body's total serotonin.
So we really are what we eat.
Yeah, what did you eat? A bloody sloth? Come on.
We are as happy as what we eat, we do say. Certain foods stimulate the brain to produce serotonin. Dairy products, fruits and vegetables with folic acids, complex carbohydrates.
Like a triple-decker sandwich! With mayo, pickle, peppers, and everything.
No, not complicated, complex. Things like lentils or whole grain cereals, etc.
Sounds a bit hippie-ish to me.
What the world?
Also chocolate.
What did he say? Chocolate!
Has to be dark chocolate though.
Chocolate in the dark.
Sexy!
Yeah. I've heard enough now. Is there something oxytocin and its friend isn't important for? And if it's so important, isn't it about time to tell now how we can get our oxytocin levels up?
Yeah.
Well, it's not so much about raising our oxytocin levels. As we know, you can have a really high oxytocin level, but still not make use of it. Instead, what we're trying to do is create a better oxytonic response so that we can feel so the hormone can flow and we can feel the benefits.
Sensation sweet, felt in the blood, and felt along the heart.
Wordsworth, again.
Oxytocin is a hormone that can change your day, but it's not much known. We can make our own and increase it when we know the way. Oxytocin keeps us happy, healthy, kind, and sane. If you listen now, we will tell you how to release this hormone from your brain.
Singing!
Massage.
Sex.
Smiling. Laughing.
Hugging!
Sex.
Chocolate!
Coffee.
War.
And sex.
Good food.
Good company.
Good memories!
Good sex.
Feeling grateful!
Feeling trusted.
Feeling loved.
Feeling sexy.
Every little one of these is magic. They can raise your oxytocin score. Give yourself a hug and that's not tragic. It can help you give and get much more. Oxytocin!
Hey, can we give oxytocin to someone else?
Not exactly, but you can help others' oxytocin levels to rise.
How?
Hug them!
Trust them.
Give them positive feedback.
Yes, well done, everybody.
Yay!
Good job. And both of you will feel the benefits from oxytocin because of the.
Join in. Come on. Let's go now.
Feedback loop. Oxytocin feedback loop. Feedback loop.
somebody wants to help you, let them. You're giving them the gift of oxytocin if you let them help you in some way.
Help you up?
Thank you.
Thank you!